All right, everybody. Welcome to Fridays with Steve. Thanks for joining us today live or pseudo live, as it were, as well as if you're watching the recording after the fact. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be here again today with my BFF, Andrew Mair. He's a senior sales engineer over at Logi. And we've got kind of some fun stuff planned to talk about. It's an interesting time in the world with, Microsoft kind of on lockdown, starting their new fiscal year. But at the same time, there's lots of announcements. We're just coming off of Infocom. Microsoft's partner event is coming up next week with Inspire. And so it's interesting timing in that while some aspects of the business are a little bit quiet, we've got great partners like Logi coming out with new devices, with enhancements, with things that they're adding to their catalog that we here at Apex then want to turn around and bring to you. So it's a pleasure to have him with me here today. So I'm going to just have a conversation with Andrew about, some of the new things that they've introduced, specifically the Sight device, even though if you were with us last time, you realized that I have some sort of mental block when it comes to remembering the name of said device. I promise to get better about it, but it's one that I'm particularly excited about, bringing that 360 camera capability back to Team certified status. We had a few customers go down the road with some shopping cart sort of Amazon devices that may or may not work or may not have security vulnerabilities. And so I'm excited to bring a Team certified device to our customers. We'll talk about, and he'll show us a few things around how these guys work. He's got a great home office, home studio. At the same time, I think some of the early customers and some of the demo units are first before even Andrew gets his hands on some of these cool devices. And so we'll do our best to give you a sense of what these guys are like and how they make some improvements in that Teams room experience. I'll also be sure to ask Andrew about some of those key business scenarios, some of those key use cases that he really sees in market when it comes to the advancements that they're bringing to the table. It's interesting how I've talked to you about signature rooms, and we talk about great advanced devices like these. And it's really interesting to me to see how Microsoft and Microsoft's partner community attack a space, right? It starts small, it starts end user, it starts personal. And then before we know it, we're doing 105-inch displays in boardrooms, right? A lot of vendors, a lot of the companies I've worked with over the years, they kind of work in the opposite direction. The consumer example of this would be someone like Tesla, where it's like, hey, let's build the Model S, let's build the Roadster first, have plenty of margin built in, and then we'll figure out how to bring the Model 3 to bear. Microsoft sort of works in the reverse, right? Let's figure out the Model 3 first, and then eventually we'll end up with a Plaid Edition Model S. So it's a real privilege to have Andrew with us again today. And I think with that, let's bring Andrew into the conversation. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Good. It's great to be here. It's glad to be back.
Yeah, and you guys over at Logi are doing some amazing stuff with the hardware and the Team certification that you're bringing to market. You're really our go-to partner when it comes to this space. I mean, before we even dive into some of the specific devices, maybe just talk for a second about the overall roadmap and sort of Logi's take on just continuing to drive functionality into these spaces. I mean, it's along personal devices, it's rooms, it's accessories. There's the Scribe right there, another one of my favorite devices.
Yeah.
I mean, just tell me a little bit about how you guys think about the portfolio holistically and how you're trying to really service the entire sort of business use case.
So, it's funny because I get asked this question all the time because I came out of the AV industry going back many years, and Logitech has done things in the AV industry to shake it up and done different things and used USB technology as opposed to our classic AV tools. And so I get a lot of the questions especially from my colleagues at other companies, especially my former company, and I deal in the reseller community and the AV integrator community. The first question is always why Logitech, and what they mean by that is why did you choose to come over to Logitech 2 years ago? And it's because I saw the writing on the wall, in the sense that we needed these new technologies to shake up our system, and Logitech was kind of at the forefront of that. And that's also true as we move into hybrid working, and as what I typically will give four principles to solution design, and I'm going to share those with you really quickly, to share that there's probably two that I never talk about that are not in that and that Logitech does. And these four principles I established a long time ago. And the first one is consistency. We need to have a consistent experience in the room. Then it needs to be an easy to use experience, and not just for the end users, but for those managing it and those who are installing it. Then we need to have high quality audio, and then we need to have high quality video. Which, by the way, as a rabbit hole, we tend to demo the video stuff first and show the other things second. Yet it's really the more important thing is a consistent experience, and easy to use experience, then high quality audio, then high quality video. But the flexible experience, the flexible design of hardware and rooms has become, if not up into that area, falling into maybe between consistency and ease of use. And the reason that flexibility of experience has come up is because things have changed over the last few years. We If you were to ask 2 years ago what I thought hybrid working might look like, or even the term hybrid working may not have even been used. Back then we were using the term return to work, right? If you were to ask me what that was going to look like, and what it looked like 6 months later, and what it looked like 6 months beyond that, it would change slightly every 6 months. And it's because technology changed, but also people's choice in how they work has changed, and how different companies have chosen to return to work. I don't even like that term anymore, because we're all back working. Truthfully, we never stopped working. It's just, how do we work? And so that is in flux right now. And that flexibility is extremely important. And so, even above my typical four principles, flexibility has kind of jumped up, maybe even to the top of the rung. It needs to be a flexible solution, and you'll see that with what we talk about today, because we're talking about three almost very different devices that we've recently released. One is the Rally Bar Huddle, which really just allowed us to have a device that kind of fit in the Rally Bar Mini world. We had the Rally Bar Mini for a long time that fit this category, but the Rally Bar Mini was probably too expensive for about half the rooms, and it had more features than it needed for about half those rooms. And so we needed a device to sit there, and it's really just um just that small room device, up to maybe six people. It's got a lot of cool things, but it's got a limited feature set. In other words, it only has a single screen. It only has a single camera, where the Rally Bar Mini has dual screens and dual cameras. So it's designed for a smaller room, smaller space. I don't need to spend all that money and for all those features I'm not going to use, when I'm just going to use it for a small room. So that's been needed for a while, because we needed to round out the room spaces. But room spaces have changed in how we work with them. So I'll save the big cool one with our site for later, but it's not just video collaboration rooms, because now, as people are spending part of their time at home, part of their time in the office, the way we use our office spaces are has changed drastically over the last 2 years. And so, instead of having a dedicated space, most people are moving to a model where, if I'm going to be at the office, I'm going to use a hotel. Some people call it hoteling, or a shared space. Maybe it's a cubicle, and it's my cubicle for the day, but someone else will use it tomorrow, and someone else will use it the next day. And that brings up some new strategies of how we are doing that. So about a year ago, we released what's called our Logidock, which is a great personal device. You put it in your house, you put it in your office, You get your screens off of there, and everything connects to it. And all I need to do is bring my laptop into that room and plug it in, and it all lights up and is mine. So then I can take the same laptop home, and then I have another Logidock at home, and I plug that in, and all those things are great. But if you bring that into the hoteling space, we had to redesign that. And so we basically took our classic Logidock that's been around for a while and our tap scheduler, and they had a baby. And that's what's called Logitech or Logitech Logidock Flex. And that Flex device it will be released and available in about the September timeframe, and it'll give you the ability to have all the technology pre-established in a hoteling cube with your mice, keyboard, webcams. All of that's connected up to that dock, and then I can actually book that space before I ever step into the office, and I can do some pretty cool things with that. Uh, if I'm in the office already and I'm just looking for space, there's a QR code on there. I can grab it, I can book it right there, and I can get that booked. Or if I'm at home and I want to make sure I have a space so that my buddy Jeff doesn't steal it for me when I come into the office, I can pre-book that before I come in, and we can even upload maps of your layout, so I can actually go there and say, okay, cubicle A1 or whatever you want to call it is available, and then I'm going to be there. And maybe I'm going into the office and I want to collaborate with someone. And I know one of my other colleagues, we were planning on coming in. I can either poke them or send them a little notice that I'm going to be here, so they know to book right next to me so we can collaborate. Or maybe I can look and say, I don't want to sit next to Jeff. I'm going to sit all the way on the other side, and then I can book my space to be that way. So that docking station with a scheduler built in, which is called Logidock Flex, that's a huge new um, um, increase to what we're doing with that. And classic collaboration designers and sellers are now having to worry about personal devices. Maybe your brain has always been video conferencing and collaboration that way. Well, personal devices are more important than ever when we're dealing with that whole ecosystem. So that's
So
that.
yeah, no, that's great. And let's finish up the conversation sort of on that personal hoteling side, and then we'll go back to the rooms and talk about rally bars and sites. And so I love the dock, and it's a wonderful device, but it's really awesome that you guys are addressing what I think we saw both, internally as well as with our customers, were a couple of challenges with docks in the corporate environment. That
Yeah.
scheduling, that hot desking kind of approach versus, the kind of customization we all put into our own devices was one. And you kind of mentioned that. The other one is, I know it always drove us a little crazy with the dock in the corporate environment was being hardwired. And I understand that the Flex has got that Ethernet port built in,
Yeah,
right? It
it
really
does.
feels
Yeah.
more like a corporate device.
And it is a corporate device, and it's got intelligence built into it. So it's not just a dumb device when it's sitting there, no one's connected to it. You can actually see it and manage it and see that everything is connected to it through our portals, through our sync and our tune portals. That's a key piece, because there's a lot of, like, a webcam, typically if it's not plugged in, unless it had been established as part of a laptop and maybe a docking station, and you can see that it should be plugged in and it's no longer plugged in. Webcam's kind of a dumb device, and I don't mean that in a bad. Marketing hates that when I call them that way. It just means that it doesn't have any onboard intelligence that gives you the ability to manage it when it's not connected. The beauty of the Logidock Flex is it's an intelligent device. So all the little peripherals that you need to make sure are up and running, so someone can walk into a hotel room and they'll just light up and work, they're available and being able to be seen and managed through that management platform, which we call Sync. That's a key thing, because it turns a really cool device, and as you said, it's more corporate level, into a full-on enterprise level device that is fully manageable and fully supported through your systems. And it all has to be doing that, because that's how we do the scheduling anyway. So it's very useful, and we've put a lot of thought into that. And what you'll see about all the devices we talk about today, they're kind of a canvas, And what I mean by is we built the hardware, we built a lot of cool software around it, but they're also extremely flexible for what's coming down the pike. So, as I said, in 6 months and a year, some of the strategies we come up with for hybrid working likely will change. And so we've just built this little canvas that you can kind of build your own system and work around that in your way.
And I think that does a great job of sort of transitioning us back into the room based conversation. You guys have done an amazing job with sort of the right device for the right space, right? And it sounds like Flex is addressing that in sort of the hoteling or corporate dock sort of world, and that's awesome. Challenge is there in rooms too, which is, the right device in the right space. And so you've already, mentioned the huddle a little bit. I'd love to talk more about that, and frankly how it fits in sort of that right device in the right room. Every room doesn't need
Yeah.
gigantic wide angle lenses and audio that can be heard
And
from
sight,
10
like we'll
miles
talk about in a
away.
minute. It doesn't need sight in every room. Like there's a
Exactly.
lot of rooms that, in fact, if you look at statistically the rooms that are being deployed, and especially the more people are using them for hybrid work, there's two things that huddle spaces are still very much part of that. And many huddle, and there's a lot of terms for those smaller spaces that sometimes can be collaboration spaces for just a few people, sometimes can be all about the far side, sometimes they're more focused on internal, like group collaboration, bringing outside in as a secondary. Although that flexibility of those huddle spaces are vast, and so we need a device, and we needed more than just the Rally Bar Mini in those spaces, which is why we built the huddle. Rally Bar Mini had the capability to do everything you wanted to do in all those spaces, but in about half of those spaces, as I mentioned earlier, if I just need that room to have 5 people be able to join meetings with someone remotely somewhere else, I don't need two screens. I don't need a static view, or what we'll get into in a minute, which is what we call a grid view. We want all those people to be able to occupy a very equal experience on that screen. And so there's a few ways we could do that. And so that's why the huddle was designed to kind of give you that, I don't want to say low end, but the smaller side of the huddle spaces. So in the huddle spaces, you can get very advanced, and you can have tiger teams and other collaboration spaces that needs multiple screens and touch screens and all these extra cool technologies. But that's probably only half of those huddle spaces. The rest of them need something simple and easy with a single screen and just be able to go in and use it, which is why the huddle was built. Some other things that we've done with the huddle, because of the size of it, is fits into a lot of categories with like medical scenarios and clinical type
Hmm.
scenarios. We've made the screen on the front of the huddle. You can actually take it off and swap it out for different colors, so you can pick between white and black. I always say it's like Henry Ford said,
Henry
you
Ford,
can
yeah.
have any color you want as long as it's white and black. Only he was talking, yeah. But you can choose those colors, but you can also swap it out to be a wipeable surface. That wipeable surface is extremely important in education scenarios, in definitely clinical scenarios. I want to be able to completely clean that off and make sure that it's sanitized down. Where with the classic Rally Bar and Rally Bar Mini, they have basically a cloth surface on there that's not wipeable. So you're doing other things to try to mitigate that. Where this gives you that ability to just completely wipe it down, and it's got a built-in privacy shutter. Where the Rally Bar and Rally Bar Mini are designed for slightly different rooms, and so they have a physical privacy shutter that you manually put on. The Rally Bar Huddle actually has an automatic privacy shutter. So when you join a call, it opens automatically. You don't have to touch it. And then if I mute my call during the middle of a call, even if I'm in a call, it's going to automatically close it. Really cool to have that privacy shutter. So some things built in there. So now we can put it into more clinical scenarios and education type scenarios. That privacy shutter, like that Rally Bar Huddle, is perfect to put on top of a medical cart, because now that medical cart can move around in a clinical scenario, maybe even in a more advanced medical scenario where it can be wiped, it can be sanitized, and it has that privacy shutter, which is HIPAA compliant, makes things more HIPAA compliant. There's a lot more that goes into what HIPAA compliancy would really mean, but it adds to that ability. Again, it's a canvas, so you can do things you need to with it.
So while we keep sort of chatting about it, maybe we could start that video running in the background. And yeah,
So let's
talk us.
talk about Sight, because Sight is
Oh,
yeah. So Huddle is the smaller device. Before I start the video, let's set up what Sight is.
okay,
So
okay,
so
perfect.
Sight, you'll see it kind of at the center of the room here, this in the center of the room, and Sight is designed to be able to work with the Rally Bar and Rally Bar Mini and more classic conferencing solutions. One of the problems is people have come back to work after spending so much time where we're all on these personal devices. When people come back to the office and go into the classic video conferencing rooms, people have found a desire, and companies have a desire to still want to have people have what's called meeting equity. And that's what you're seeing on our screen here. You and I have very much an equal experience because you're seeing us both cut into the same box. We have our own box. But when I go back into a conference room, now it's only the active speaker or maybe a group view, and I want to be able to break those individuals up into their own boxes. And so, first of all, we brought a new technology called Grid View to the table, and that applies to the whole Rally Bar family, including the new Rally Bar Huddle, the new Rally Bar Huddle. But in larger rooms, we want to take that experience and it kind of that grid view experience where we break everyone up into their own box can kind of fall a little bit because some people are farther away from the camera and closer to the camera. And so you might have a slight difference in the focus because a camera can really only focus on one space at a time. So you need multiple cameras to do multiple focuses, multiple scenarios. And so this is what 360-degree cameras were trying to do for so long. And so that's the Sight. And before I show it to you, I'm going to show you that this is not a 360-degree camera. And it's this device up here in the corner, in the far right of the screen, and you'll notice it's got two additional cameras out at the table. And what Sight is doing is using AI to pick up all the available spaces, but not give you a full 360-degree stitch view. If you've ever experienced that whole 360-degree camera, it can be a little unnerving because the fish-eyeing and the adjustments that have to make to it, that you can actually have two people who are physically next to each other, but they appear as if they're on the opposite side of the room. And we're trying to stay away from those things.
Okay.
So we did not do a 360 degree. So if you wouldn't mind showing the video, and I'll walk through kind of what the experience looks like. So we're taking a few technologies, and let me hit play here. We're taking a few technologies. I should have put it on loop, I guess. Let me pull it back up. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
Um, it takes a sec to get running. But while it's running, I'll kind of walk through what it's doing. So those two cameras that are sitting out at the table, what it's doing is actually finding individual talkers, and you'll see that right
Okay.
there. And the main camera, they're actually putting them in their own square. And so you see this guy's up here. You can see that he's standing up because we have the group view in the center. And then when he sits down, it adjusts to him. Now, as other individual talkers join, they're actually brought into their own square. And so right now, only these three people are talking, but you'll see the lady on the left, she starts talking and she starts discussing it too. And so what you're seeing is the Rally Bar still is part of this, because this is something that is an addition to the Rally Bar. And the Sight turns into the main camera of the Rally Bar. And the Rally Bar's camera turns into this context view that you see in the center, this picture in picture. You never want to lose that context of people in the room, but you still want to see them in their own squares. And this is what the experience is at launch. So, and again, as I mentioned, these are all canvases. And what I mean by canvases is that we build the hardware so that we can take advantage of new technology in the future. And there's some things that are going to come shortly after launch. And what the first thing that will come shortly after launch is the natural switching. And you'll see when one of these people turns to the front of the room, you see their ear, and you see that with Alan right there on that side. When he looks at the front of the room, you see his ear. Well, at that point in the future, our AI will determine that he's looking to the front, and it'll not use the Sight camera, which is what it's doing right now. It'll switch to the Rally Bar camera because it has a better view of him. That's not happening at launch. That's coming down the line. There's some things that are happening. So look for that in a future release around January timeframe. But
Okay.
at the moment, the experience is still quite a good experience because you're getting everyone in their own view and you get that context view. The other thing that we'll probably be able to take advantage of, and this is all dependent on the different platforms, is provide a multi-stream experience as the different platforms allow that. And what I mean by that is right now this is all happening within one video stream. Well, what if I could then break that group view out into one video stream and each of the other participants into their own video stream? So they show up as different video participants within the Zoom or Teams meeting themselves. And so that is coming. Those two things are coming. At launch, we are doing it within the video stream we're showing you here. So this is the view at launch. So
Well, and
anyway,
that's
so
where
this is Sight.
Yeah, and that's where I think you guys are doing such a good job, and you accidentally, but it's totally it's totally important to this conversation. You mentioned Zoom and Teams. You're working with those guys because I think everybody's in the pursuit of sort of AI based or at least smart video mixing boards, right? When is it important to see isolated images of speakers? How do we tag names to it? How do we do transcription even smarter? And what's been really nice for us as a partner as well as our customers is you guys are getting along in the sense that like Teams and Logi and other vendors are working together saying, yeah, this is the end goal. Some of it's in software, some of it's hardware, some of it's firmware, and we'll just keep evolving it. So I get where you're coming from saying, hey, it's
And
one video
that's why I
stream.
use the word canvas. Our
Yeah.
hardware is really a canvas for the tech, and we build a lot of cool technology in it. And you can see that that's just built naturally in the hardware. In this, this, I just might as well keep playing that. Just let it run in the background so people can see. But but that canvas allows the different platforms to grow their technology and us to automatically be able to take advantage of it, that's exactly what you're seeing with it. So when you buy a Logitech product, whether it's the Rally Bar Huddle, the Flex, or especially the Sight, you're going to see that investment will last as the platforms evolve because we don't just build these in a vacuum. We work very closely with what the roadmaps of the platforms, and in this case Teams, is doing. And so we're aware of what they're doing. We're working with them, and so we're trying to build the hardware that will be able to be used as they develop their platforms in the future. And that's what you're seeing here. And that applies to so many things. But we also build the services and support around that. As I said earlier with um the we might as well just stop sharing content on that.
Yeah,
As
I'll
I
just
said
go ahead and
earlier,
hang up.
with that, our management platforms and our services that match all that are very key part of that. And sometimes they're the unsung heroes of all the cool, because we love to show the cool technology, but when we have services like with our Logidock Flex and our rally bars, where we can actually see what's going on with those devices and give you the ability to manage those remotely, and not just be on site, and actually roll those into your overall ecosystem. That is a huge advantage. And then adding additional services on top of it, we have a select service platform that allows you to actually have a greater level of service than just a standard service to do it. And it rolls into all that. And so what I talk about is something needs to be consistent across the board. That includes the experience of the people in the room, but also the people managing and maintaining that behind the scenes. Same thing with ease of use. It that all has to be done. And Logitech has built that ecosystem of products and services to be able to help with that.
No, and that's amazing, amazing stuff. It's why we love partnering with you guys, and so many successful room deployments, personal device deployments under our belt. I still got my Logi remote downstairs, solving the riddle of too many remotes in my house, right? So just
Yeah,
the
yeah,
spectrum of
yeah.
stuff you guys do.
Yep, absolutely. That old Harmony remote is, it's still very. That's often the thing that people will show up like, "Oh, you're with Logitech? I love this device." They'll hold that up. The other one is if they're a traveler, the little what is it? The screen sharing
Oh, the clicker.
the
Yeah.
clicker. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have multiple clippers, but that more advanced one where I can actually highlight and
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 Zoom.
and
Yeah.
come in and zoom in on it. They'll people will pull that out of their bag when I'm on the road. They're like, "This is my favorite product,"
That's
and there's just so many things like you pick your favorite Logitech product. It's likely the thing that makes your job easier to do. And that's what we do. We take our products and help you with your job in your life and make it just that much easier to do. And so depending on what you do, I can almost pick if I ask you, okay, what do you do for a living? I can almost guess what your favorite Logitech product will be. Like, so
perfect. No, hey Andrew, this was great. Thanks for the insight, updates on the roadmap, and the great stuff you have coming now and in the future. And we're sure going to have you back again real soon.
real quick, just I think so people are going to ask you. Huddle is available to order now. It's not shipping yet. Flex is not available to order now. Look for it in about the September timeframe. Sight is available to order now, not shipping yet. It's still in certification with Microsoft, and so I think it'll be dependent on that certification process. So just if you need help, reach out to Apex Digital. They can get in touch with us. We can definitely make sure you're planning the right scenario for your rollout. So
Perfect. Thanks for that, Andrew. And thanks again for joining us. And I'll just take a
anytime,
couple minutes
please,
here and bring us
anytime.
home. All right. So thanks to Andrew for joining us on Fridays with Steve. It's always a pleasure having him join us and offer his insights into everything that Logi does. Just ran a report from our distributor, and the numbers prove that Logi is in fact my favorite kid. So love working with those guys. Let us help you with these room deployments, with these personal devices, these enterprise devices. We have a ton of experience, hundreds of projects, hundreds of customers, 20 plus years in the industry doing exactly this, right? Bringing the right solution to the right place. I talk about this all the time. I think Andrew did a great job of highlighting how, hey, there's different systems for different rooms, right? The boardroom is different from the huddle space. And whether it's the hardware, the software, the services, and the management that we provide, we help you address those unique situations. So if you saw some things that were interesting to you, give us a buzz. Work with your account executive with any questions you might have. If you're an existing customer, if you're a new customer, go ahead and reach out to sales or just drop me a note directly, sthompson@apexdigital.com. We'll get back to you right away. Set up a discovery call and see what we can do to help your environment and really bring this technology and these solutions to bear in your world. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us on Fridays with Steve, and we'll see you again next time.